Hey guys, Zelonius here. Welcome to another video on the channel. We are talking today about some gameplay updates from EA. Pitch notes, title update number 9. Oh, they don't have any pitch notes, are actually just some patch notes. Yeah, not a huge update in terms of the amount of stuff to talk about, but there's a few somewhat big things in here from what I gather. We're going to talk about them, and then furthermore, I'll just move on to this here that I've got, one of my games that I played. That is a very interesting. What you won't have seen this on here, but look, webcam off. That is the time I've paused it on. If you hide, that was from my live stream. That is a very scary looking, probably quite memeable face there. But yeah, we will put my webcam back on so you don't have to look at that monstrosity. But yeah, we're going to look over some gameplay and in general just talk about the direction of the game, what I think about the current state of gameplay in it. So the updates that we care about: gameplay, reduced effectiveness of outside foot shots for players with or without the Trivella playstyle, playstyle plus. Again, I don't really know if the Trivella playstyle does anything on shooting. Doesn't really, it's a bit ambiguous. Moderately reduced outside foot shot accuracy. That moderately, when they do that, normally means a somewhat sizable difference. Reduce the maximum potential of amount of topspin the ball can have from an outside foot shot. That's where it just goes like that, kind of floats over the keeper. Keepers really struggle with that. Updated player selection logic when using secondary contain. If that does what it says on the tin, hopefully that fixes when the R1 doesn't work properly. That's been a big issue for me. Here, these don't really seem to be a lot. So we're going to put my gameplay up from there. We'll just leave this on the background while I talk. So, one of the big things, and I appreciate from EA side things, it's not easy to always do this, but is balancing attack versus defense. And for me, I would always prioritize the attack being better than the defense. I think that makes for a funner game. I'd much rather a 5-4 game than a 1-0 game. However, you obviously have to make it so it's not just overpowered, you just concede goals for absolutely nothing. The problem I have with EAFC 24, I've been fairly vocal about it, whether you watch my videos, my streams. For me, this has been the worst year for gameplay since FIFA 19. That's like 5 years ago now. It could even be worse than that. I don't hold that lightly, that comment. Like, I think 19 was an abomination of a game. I clearly think the same about the content gameplay on this. One of the things that I think's been a bit OP this year, there's not been loads of OP things, it's just a lot of inconsistencies and bad gameplay. One thing that I think's been not that good in terms of it being a bit OP is Trivellas. Trivellas are not a very natural way of scoring. I've probably seen 3 or 4 Trivella goals scored in my life. Sometimes I see more than that in one match on FC 24. However, the problem is that EA keeps seeming to do this. They keep seeming to nerf ways of scoring. Up there. Didn't even realise that was coming up. There's a crazy Trivella there. What player in real life does a ball roll, quick touch, and then just hits that? They're crazy in a very OP way of scoring. But the thing is, there's not many ways of scoring past people who just AI defend and park the bus if they're any good. And by any good, it's kind of a contradiction because they kind of just let the computer do stuff. But you know what I mean when you play these people in foot champs who barely touch their defence. They just control one midfielder, run around, be very hard to break down, and the AI is really good. And it's got a lot worse since we've had better players added to the game. I feel like one of the big updates this year that did actually, for me, it was somewhat noticeable, was when they made it a bit easier to play through the middle of the pitch. However, that, for me, even though I think that still is in the game, I think that's about as bad as it was from before that, because now players have better stats the quicker in the middle. It's just kind of gone back to the way it was. Can only imagine how bad it would be if they'd not done any patch for it. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about potentially going to a 5-back meta. They're saying that they think it could end up like that now because of people not being able to hit long shots, people just going to want to stack the box. AI defend, be very hard to break down. I'm a bit worried about that. I'm going to test the 5-back out on the new patch and see how it works. For me, one of the biggest gameplay updates this year that I thought was just dumb, I've said it plenty of times, was the nerfing of finesses. Something shouldn't be just in the middle in terms of it's either sometimes good, sometimes bad. Things either for me should be good or bad. Finesses now if you green them with someone with the finesse and great shooting, they're fairly good, but there's a good chance they'll miss still. And the problem I have with that is it's just inconsistent. I want a consistent game. I don't want to lose a match 3-2 where I hit 10 finesses that are green from perfect position and 2 go in. My opponent hits 3 and they all go in. You get what I'm saying? That can happen. Games where you do the right thing a lot more than your opponent, and because there is a somewhat decent chance of them missing, you end up missing quite a few. I really hate inconsistency on EAFC. We'll skip through this to make sure we've got an actual game going on in the background. So my worry now with Trivella's is that they're going to go from being a really good, effective way of consistently scoring to sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. You could hit 3 and they all miss. Your opponent could hit 1 and it goes in. I really don't like that for the game. Lack of consistency is bad for me. I'm interested to see what you guys think. For me, that's what they did with finesses, and it made the game worse. I think it's a lot easier to get rigged on a game that's very inconsistent. I've had games where I've lost where I've hit 3 finesses that probably were all perfect, but they've just sometimes missed because of the RNG, and I've lost by a goal. Whereas if they were consistent how they were before, I'd have won. And I feel like the AI is pretty good. I feel like decent players are able to AI defend, which lowers the skill gap a lot and be very hard to break down. Whereas with the Trivellas, with the finesses, it makes it a lot harder for them to just park the bus because they have to at least come out and stop that. Whereas if they don't really have to worry about that anymore, it just makes it even easier to AI defend, makes it a more negative game, makes it a game more in favour of the defenders. For me, that's a big issue. One of the things that's apparently, I didn't see it at the time, but I saw people talking about that was in the patch notes, was improving the AI logic against cutbacks. That is actually something that I wanted fixing, because cutbacks was something that it felt like it did not matter what you did sometimes, you were going to concede them. Trivella's and finesses, whilst not the most natural, obvious way of consistently scoring in real life, I rarely ever concede them because I'm good at defending. I know when people are going for them. But I score lots because most people don't defend them properly. They are not that hard to deal with, in my opinion. Whereas the cutbacks, it does not matter how you play sometimes. It feels like people are going to score them. That's been taken out, the pitch notes. So one of the things that I'd have liked, you can see there, my player didn't defend it properly. I had to switch it even then, just about stopped it. One of the things that I thought was good in the pitch notes, they've got rid of. So hopefully it isn't the patch that they've made a mistake. I don't know. But for me, the current state of the gameplay, it's really not good. It's weird because it's not like there's really OP things other than maybe the AI being a bit too good. I think that needs a massive nerf to make the skill gap a bit higher. For me, it's just a very inconsistent game. It's very easy to lose a game where you've played quite a lot better than your opponents. I feel like most years I say this, that the skills gap is getting lower and it's easy to get rigged, but I feel this year is so obvious. The amount of times I lose games where I'm just like afterwards, I could watch that back and watch the goals and I'm like, I made maybe one mistake, but I also maybe defended it near perfect 4 or 5 times. My opponent kept screwing up and they eventually still scored. It's a massive issue for me. Like, people so often are having these games where they're making dumb mistakes in attack and just get rewarded. Like, people just shoot from 30 yards. That would have been a crazy Trivella. People shoot from 30 yards, rebounds, get a tap in. You tackle them 3 times, just bounces through. There's way too many things on this game, in my opinion, that just make it too easy for people to get bailed out. I don't like the direction the game's going in general. I'm probably going to do a talk or a video about content, pay to win, the untradeable, the market prices. I think I'll do that maybe even tomorrow, to be honest, state of the game. I'm interested to see what you guys think, though, specifically about gameplay. What would you like to see in a patch? For me, I think this game's probably beyond saving. I think it's February at this point. EA rarely do any gameplay updates even now, so I was surprised to see one, but really doubt there'll be any more after this point. Interested to see what you guys think, though. And one last thing I would like to say. This isn't some salty video when I talk about gameplay and saying I think it's really bad. I still get Elite Division every season when I play Rivals. I still, generally speaking, hit minimum rank 2 or rank 1 most. I always hit rank 2 basically. Most weekends, I'm saying I hit rank 1. I'm good at the game. I just don't like the game and find it quite frustrating to play. And the general thing I hear from people in my videos, my streams, they're not a big fan of the game either. And most people have started to give up the game already, which is sad. but I completely understand it. I appreciate you guys watching the videos as always. Let me know any feedback in the comments you've got for me. Keep it spicy. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.